So nowadays, I would call the AEW Women's Division strong. The two titles are both treated like a big deal. The AEW Women's World title has a legitimate case for being the main event of All Out. Which, bear in mind, at the time of recording, All Out is still several weeks away. When I ask you who is the face of the AEW Women's Division, a few names should pop up. You could say Timeless Toni Storm. You could say Maria May. You could also say Mercedes Moné. But at the top of that list, you sure as shit better have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. The early days of the women's division were spotty at best. It was a common criticism of AEW would only have one women's match and one women's segment. Now, to be clear, those criticisms, yeah, they were valid. Look, I'm not trying to downplay the importance of Riho or Nyla Rose, but it was clear that work needed to be done. Early on in her AEW career, Britt Baker was injured, but instead of staying off TV, she would show up in a wheelchair to cut promos. She, along with the help of Tony Schiavone, endeared herself to the audience, and we all embraced the good doctor. Her lockjaw finisher reminds me of the mandible claw. Just bite down, Dwayne. She's a submission artist in a division that lacks even solid impact finishing maneuvers. She's able to differentiate herself from others. Step back in the past with me for a moment. There was a time when the NBA was not the behemoth that it is today. It was the rivalry between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson that allowed it to grow. Their battles pushed growth for the entire league. We can still see vestiges of that old adage between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in the WNBA as it grows. I would argue that the rivalry that truly elevated the women's division would be Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. The two had insane chemistry together, and their promos cut alarmingly deep. Kinda like this blade job from Britt. And seriously, Britt, are you okay? Do you need a doctor? This rivalry was bloody and personal and elevated both women. And with that, I would call their best match ever being a lights out affair on St. Patrick's Day Slam. I'd call it a 5-star bloodbath, even if Dave Meltzer won't. Through this character work, great promos, and a strong connection to top fans, Britt was a fixture of our televisions until she wasn't. In late 2023, Britt took a step back, believing that the AEW faithful had gotten tired of her. I would have called an audible and turned her heel, but hey, that's just me. She returned at Forbidden Door to a thunderous pop to challenge Mercedes Moné for the TBS title at All In. I'd say this is probably the biggest match AEW have to offer at the moment, especially from their women's division, via star power alone. The face of the AEW women's division versus the CEO who's trying to take it over. But in the face of this massive match, there is controversy. As of the time of this recording, Britt Baker was suspended for 2 weeks due to an altercation backstage involving MJF. Details are vague and I don't want to speculate, but I am curious how the crowd will react to seeing her again tonight on Dynamite. AEW fans are the smarkiest of smarks, so I'm curious what the next play is. It feels way too soon to take the title off of Moné, but of course, that's how truly great matches are constructed. We should be unsure of the victor. It doesn't make sense for either person to lose. This video is titled Why AEW Need Britt Baker, and I think I know what we need to keep going back to. In her 9-month absence, multiple big-name stars have either arrived or thrived. Much in the way Austin's absence allowed guys like Triple H, The Rock, and Mick Foley to rise, so too has Britt Baker's absence given rise to Moné, Storm, and May. Britt Baker should be treated like the OG, the original, that created the base for these other ladies to build on. She should be treated as the queen pin, the ace of the division. Treat her like a star and watch the money roll in. Dr. Britt Baker is definitely in the building.